Preserving art has always been its own kind of science, but as what happens outside with severe weather events changes, the thinking about what happens in here is changing as well. If one were to imagine the perfect kind of day to spend inside a museum, it would look something like this. But because of climate change, there's a rush to make sure the history inside our nation's museums doesn't become history as well. How does the environment impact a room like this?
This room is actually pretty sensitive to environmental changes.
I wanted to better understand what's at stake for museums, so I met Mary Coughlin with the Corcoran School of Art and Design in Washington, D.C. This is one of a kind, right? I mean, this is the only one of this that exists.
Exactly, so we lose it, we don't get a do-over.
The room we're standing in is the Salon Doré, built in Paris in 1770, then moved to the U.S. in the 1900s. What is it about art for you that keeps you coming back?
I think for me, art is our humanity.
This entire room is a work of art itself, and preserving it is challenging for Mary Coughlin, especially as the weather outside takes more wild swings because of climate change. What's at stake at a lot of these places?
Everything. I mean, truly everything.
For decades, museums nationwide set strict, uniform standards for temperature and humidity. In the last few years, though, a different approach has emerged. Curators now say the guidelines for an exhibit in, say, Phoenix, Arizona, don't need to be the same for one in New York.
There is a thought now that are we almost fighting the outside too much? And especially in terms of climate, just knowing what is normal for your environment.
Climate change is driving a lot of this, especially as museums deal with more flooding. There's obvious damage that can happen from floods, but there are not so obvious impacts too. Think of it like this. A lot of paintings are like sponges. Humidity or moisture cause them to swell up. Leave a sponge on your sink for the weekend, what happens? It dries out. Not a big deal for a sponge, but for a historical work of art.
Swelling as it gets humid, drying out as it, as it desiccates, and that fluctuation can cause some damage.
To deal with climate change, the Getty Center in LA is designed to close off air circulation in the event of wildfires. The Met in New York has an entire climate change security team. And the Louvre in Paris built off-site storage facilities on higher ground less prone to flooding. But those projects cost millions.
The question that we are now facing in this reality is how does that trickle down to smaller and mid-sized museums? What can they do? Because they're not going to be able to have these massive construction projects that cost millions of dollars.
Are you worried about those smaller ones?
Totally.
At the end of the day, this is about preserving history and adapting to changing environments, so priceless works of art are protected. This is the kind of thing people should care about. Why?
People need to care about art because, again, it's really what makes us human.
Chris Conte, Scripps News, Washington.